Hi everyone. So this time around we're talking about Nintex workflow for Office 365. Nintex recently released an update to it. If you guys aren't aware, it's actually pretty cool in that with Nintex workflow for Office 365, it's an app that you can download from the SharePoint store. What that means is that it actually downloads a little piece to your Office 365 tenant, and what you'll end up seeing is when you go to your Office 365 environment, you'll see a button that says Nintex Workflow, and that's really pretty much all it actually adds to your Office 365 tenant. When you actually click on it, what it's doing is actually streaming the entire Workflow Designer to you. So all the new functionality that Nintex recently added, you'll see it straight away. You didn't have to go and reinstall anything or reconfigure anything, so it's pretty cool that way. Now when this pops up, what you'll see is a few more actions that we didn't have out of the box before. The first one I want to talk about is the state machine. This is a widely used scenario when you're building out workflows to really make some fairly complex workflows without actually the need of having some complicated logic. This actually allows you to do all that sort of stuff yourself. So if I double click on the state machine, and what I'm going to do is actually rename these states. I'm going to call it initialize and an approval state, and then you specify what you want the first state to be. So in this case, I want it to be initialize. Then what you have is in each state you will have at least one set next state action. This will allow you to actually jump into a different state. So if you had multiple states, I'll say more than two, you could jump to other states as well. So once I finish the initialize state, I want to jump to my approval state, and then here's my approval state, and when I'm done with that, what I want to do is actually exit the state machine. Now if you think about it, that's pretty cool. It's kind of easy to do, but even with such a simple workflow, when somebody else comes and takes over your workflow, they're really not going to know what this is. So what else that's actually been added in the latest release for Workflow for Office 365 is the ability to relabel these. So even though it says set next state, I actually want to say change to the approval state. And this one, say exit the state machine. So again, you can see straight away it's already starting to make more sense. You can add more actions to each state. So for example, I want to add a task action to here. Maybe I want to add because it's an initialized state, I want to set a particular variable. So I can go into here and say, create myself a variable. I'm going to call it text approver, and I'll set it to ens@preston.local. And then when I go to my task action, I can actually click on this button here and specify the variable that I want to use. And I'll just leave it as that for now. You can see this triangle sign is still not fully configured, but at least it gives you an idea of what you have to fix. Now, the other thing that's been added is called a run if action. So for example, I can put a run if in here. I can open up the configuration of it, and I can say I want to look at that text approver, and I can say that if it is not empty, right, so that the variable has actually been filled in, I actually want to run that task action. Otherwise, I just want to ignore this task action because we don't even have an approver anyway, and I'm going to exit out the state machine. Now, added to that, I can actually go back into this, add another state, and say second level approval. Right, you can see I've got my change state. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move that one into here. You can see very easy to drag and drop. Move this one here, and this one is actually going to go to the second level of approval. Right, so again, very easy to do. I'm going to relabel that, change to second level approval state. Okay, very easy to do. Now, let's say you want to do a little bit of jumping back and forth. rather than using a run if, I'm going to use a conditional branch. So let's put the conditional branch here, and we're going to configure this conditional branch to be very similar to the other one. We'll say if it's not empty. So if it's not empty, we want to do this. Let's get rid of this action because we don't really need it right now. And we're going to change state to the second level of approval. Otherwise, if there's no approver, we're going to change state again. Oh, on this side though, we're going to go back to initialize. And we're going to go and try this again. We'll say back to initialize state. See, so very easy to do. All of a sudden now what you have is you have a workflow that goes into this initialized state. It will do something. Now this will always work, this set workflow variable, but let's say you had a task that was actually assigned to somebody and they have to tell you who the next approver is. That's where this sort of situation can actually occur. So we're going to jump into this initialized state. We're going to set a variable based on some data somewhere. Then we're going to jump to the approval state and we're going to check. If there's no approver in that variable, we're going to jump back and we're going to try this all over again. Otherwise, we're going to go down this branch. We're going to assign a task and we're going to jump to our next level of approval, and let's paste so we have a second level right there. So you can see, very easy to use, very easy to move things around, copy and paste, drag and drop. The other thing you'll find is you can actually click on this drop down and move a branch. So I can move this to the left, I can move it back to the right, just to make it easier for you when it comes to building out your workflows later, or modifying those workflows later. So I hope this helps you out in really showing you what kind of powerful workflow logic and business logic you can actually automate using Nutex Workflow for Office 365. I think the addition of the state machine, the labeling of actions, the run if type action, being able to jump back and forth between these states is a massive enhancement to Nutex Workflow for Office 365, and it's really going to open up some very interesting opportunities to build some very advanced workflows to improve your business. I hope this is useful to you, and if you have any comments you want to add, feel free to add it to the end of this post. Thanks very much.